Storm Watch here at the Weather Channel. I'm Paul Emick. A new tropical storm to talk about, and another old one now, just a big batch of wet weather across the Yucatan Peninsula. We'll take a look at all of that and also talk about the stormy concerns in the Midwest, and even around Philadelphia and D.C. during the day Thursday could be in for some strong or severe storms. Let's begin with our tropical update. We'll get right at it and talk about the tropical weather. Look at a few waves, little bits of energy moving off the Cape Verde Islands region. It's one of the source regions for the little pre-existing spin. One of the things you need to get the tropical situations developed and sustained. You need a pre-existing spin of some sort. Sometimes that comes from land. A couple of years ago, remember Hurricane Danny was a big batch of storms. Louisiana moved out over the water, took on tropical characteristics, and came back. Other waves develop elsewhere from old dying fronts or just big batches of convection over the water. But there's a spot we often see some coming from. That's the Cape Verde Islands region off the west coast of Africa. Notice one little wave about to make an exit there. We're continuing to monitor that. A few little waves kind of kicking along. But this one has been of note for a while here. Kind of keep our eye on a big batch of showers and storms that moved through the Virgin Islands already. We're looking on toward its current location, Tropical Storm Dean, as of 11 o'clock Atlantic time. 185 miles northwest of San Juan, Puerto Rico, so it is moving on past San Juan now. Winds sustained at 60 miles per hour, west-northwest, around 20 its current motion, and moving at 20 miles per hour. Again, estimated pressure at 29.83 inches of mercury. There it is from the satellite perspective. You can see there's Puerto Rico. To get a bit of a handle on it, where everything happens to be. There's Dominica, for example, on toward Hispaniola, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Really kind of a heads up in this region, especially as it continues its west-northwesterly track. Into Puerto Rico, this is always a problem spot when we do see a lot of rain. Because if you've been to Puerto Rico, you know, if you're watching us from there tonight, a lot of high elevations there. Very, very high elevations throughout Puerto Rico. And that can cause a lot of problems. You get what's called orographic effect. You take a bit of moisture, you force it up an elevation, you can't go around it or under it. You have to go up and over it. So it rises, cooling, condensing with height. You squeeze a little extra precipitation out. That orographic effect really adds to some of the rainfall totals here. And indeed, it could for just a bit longer. The main part of the system on now to the northwest of San Juan, moving on. But again, heavy rain may linger here for just a little bit longer. As far as the tropical storm advisories, tropical storm watches now throughout the central Bahamas, where you see the orange shades. But tropical storm warnings are in effect for the southeastern Bahamas, also the Turks and Caicos. But remember now, where you see areas of tropical storm warnings, means you should be prepared for heavy rain and winds of tropical storm force, which is indeed a possibility for the region. Its projected path now has it getting a bit of a kick from the upper levels, working to turn it away. That's the official forecast track. Now, if it could intensify, become a little better organized and a little deeper, it may find a way to continue its westward motion and not be affected by the ridge. It would have to really be a pretty powerful system to survive that. More than likely, the scenario is, again, the forecast track here curving it back toward the north and east over the next few days. We continue to watch Tropical Storm Dean. Here's where we at one point had our tropical storm known as Chantal. Still just a big batch of storms. The area did fall apart pretty fast. Looking around the Gulf and the Caribbean, other than the system we talked about there with Tropical Storm Dean, fairly quiet time, not a great deal happening into the Gulf, no areas of concern presently. Immediate eastern Pacific, pretty quiet time, not a great deal going on. You get on toward the south and east of Hawaii. Continue to watch a tropical depression there for the region popping up. We'll continue to keep our eye toward that. And then toward Asia, around Japan, Peibuk, that is to continue to push away, did dump a lot of rain, but it continues to weaken at the present time. Look at current weather conditions coast.
Okay, in the heartland today, watching areas around Missouri, heading out around the Lake of the Ozarks. Keep that in mind today. Travelers out of St. Louis down to Tulsa, watching for the prospect of a rough and tumble afternoon. The eastern seaboard looking good, with one exception, the goings-on off the coast. Let's get the latest now on what's happening with the trough and the interaction with what is left of Dean from the Hurricane Expert Desk and John Hope.
Thank you, Bill, and good morning, everybody. We're approaching the very peak of the hurricane season, but we don't have any hurricanes to report on today, and that's certainly got to be good news. Let's have a look and show you what we do have. The most likely candidate for some kind of regeneration here, though, are the remnants of Dean. And as a matter of fact, the National Hurricane Center has a reconnaissance aircraft on the way out there right now to check that out, and we'll report on it. I'll focus on that a bit more later. We also have a tropical wave 500-600 miles east of the islands and one off the African coast. We'll talk about all those. First of all, we'll look at the remnants of Dean, and right up in this area is where the aircraft is headed. That has become a little bit better organized overnight. It's about 400 and some odd miles away from Bermuda to the west-southwest, moving pretty rapidly toward the north or maybe even north-northeast. Now, even if this should regenerate, it's not going to be any threat, we don't think, to the United States, certainly not the Bahamas. In fact, the only land in the possible path of it would be Bermuda. We'll have to watch that. And here's the infrared shot right in there, and so we'll be waiting to see what the aircraft reports. Now, as far as our Atlantic tropical waves are concerned, the first westernmost one is this one, highly disorganized. It looked a little bit better disorganized yesterday, better organized. So nothing certainly from that in the near future. And then the one off the coast of Africa, southwest of the Cape Verde Islands, that doesn't show any sign of getting any better organized either. But we'll be watching those two features as they move on across. The Gulf of Mexico is about as benign as it can get, except for a few showers down here in the very southern tip of the Bay of Campeche. And the Caribbean, here we see the remnants of Dean up here. Notice, though, on the Pacific side, we have quite a concentration of clouds and showers. That's increased some in the last couple of days. And two areas we're looking at, one south of Manzanillo and another one southwest of Cabo San Lucas that are being watched, but no clear organization there so far. So that's the tropics for this time. Now back to Bill Keneally.
All right, John, thank you very much again on this Getaway Friday. Meanwhile,
this was the scene as Andrew roared ashore near Homestead, Florida. Winds howled at 140 miles an hour, gusting to 170 miles an hour at times. Heavy rain lashed the area, flooding neighborhoods. Andrew caused an estimated $26 billion in damage. So just a tremendous hurricane there, and I remember it well. I can remember I was working with Vince Miller way back then, 9 years ago, and as it was coming ashore like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, also looking at the tropics, we're finding that we still have this little feature here off the coast of the Carolinas in Georgia, Bermuda up this way. John Hope has been watching this, and Hurricane Hunter aircraft, they're out investigating to see if it's possible that that circulation from what was Tropical Storm Dean is trying to reorganize, and we'll know later this afternoon if there actually is a circulation. Heading back to the southeastern United States.